Welcome to Meet the Biz. As many people are on Facebook, on the internet, and I was on Facebook the other night, actually last week, and came across this woman that I've seen in concert before. And she was playing the whole set, and I started listening to it, and the joy that I was having. And then I turned in the next night and she was doing it again. And it was like, and I'm addicted. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to connect with her. And she is like an angel on earth. And it's interesting when times like these we go through, we come across these people who might have just been doing their own thing. And every night now she heals our hearts. Through her music. She is, well, instead of like going on about it, this is an amazing performer, Kiki Ebsen. Kiki Ebsen, hello.
Hello, David. You're
How
so
are you?
Sweet.
Well, I'm, I come from here, and I'm tearing up thinking about it, because your voice and your heart is truly of an angel. And you might know the last name Ebsen because your dad, and I'm talking to the audience because your dad's Buddy Ebsen was Buddy Ebsen.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, you were born into a family, a historic family.
I was. And it's, had its good things and its bad things.
Right.
But it was overall, from my perspective now, it was an extraordinary opportunity, an incredible life experience. And a lot of people think if you're born to a famous person, whether they be an actor or whatever, that life is just, that's rosy and you've got all this money and you get all this opportunity. But, there's a lot to figure out with, in that situation, because you have a parent that is so larger than life, and it's really hard for you to find your own identity.
Uh-huh.
So that was what I spent a great deal of time exploring and discovering, by making a lot of mistakes. I was a pretty stubborn, youngster. So I had a strong will to do something, although I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't think when I was a kid that, I'm going to be a musician or a singer or what, none of that. I had no idea. I knew that I liked to play piano, and I knew that I loved animals and I loved nature. But, I really struggled to get out from under the shadow. And my mother was also very prominent in the theater world in our community. And so we had these two really powerful parents that were trying to guide us, but, through their filters, they didn't quite see always what your unique talents were, So for me, that could be difficult, and to come to terms with. But we did. We all came. In there while they were living. We had great connections toward the end of their life, and now I have such a great relationship with them in their sort of afterlife.
Right. And what you bring, you write songs. You started off, as I read on your website, and read other places, you started off classically trained. Is that true? And then
I went to college. I've had a great deal of exposure to all kinds of music. I have older sisters who turned me on to, the Joni Mitchell and Donovan and all that. In the 60s, my mother was all about the classical music and the Broadway show, as was my father. My father was into jazz. So the house was just filled with albums playing, everybody from, Joe Pass to Ella Fitzgerald to all the big band stuff, all the show tunes, everything. My mother took us to all the original cast productions of Hair and Fiddler on the Roof. It was just, that's what we were exposed to. and it was amazing. I didn't realize how cool that was at the time. So then I loved rock music, and in my high school, that's what I did. I played rock, got into progressive rock, and then as I went into college, I fell into class. I loved classical. I did study a bit of classical as well. I loved the chords and all that. And I studied it in college, and I got my degree actually in concert voice. So that's where that came from, although I never anticipated that I would be an opera singer. It seems that my voice is suited to it, but it wasn't what my journey was going to ultimately be.
Right. Well, because I read too, you played in the Marriage of Figaro.
Yeah, I was in Marriage of Figaro in college, our college
Yeah.
production. I went to California Institute of the Arts, and
Right.
it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I did.
Well, what's so great about it is you have all the different musics, and it comes through you in your own defined voice, which is so beautiful to hear, which we're going to hear in a couple of minutes, which I'm excited. I'm listening to you, and I'm so, and thank you again for being here. Performing Arts Studio West, our school, we have a couple of music teachers, and each of us are doing classes right now for the students since we're all at home being safe. And one of our, both of our instructors talk about those different style of musics and the different people, and we go through different eras of history. So to hear this from you, who lived it, and growing up, I'm so blessed myself to feel like, to have been born in the 60s and go through the 70s.
I think it was an incredible time to be exposed, as I'm sure our parents were like, well, you didn't know what it was like in the 30s and 40s. And I agree. They had their, as I explored my father's career with my To Dad Would Love show, I realized, yeah, we didn't get that opportunity, but we did get the 60s, 70s, and that era of songwriting and music and just everything that was going on, theater and musicals. We're lucky. We're really, really lucky.
And then you went on to be backup singer for so many people. You worked with Chaka Khan.
Well, I was a keyboard player. I played keyboards.
Okay.
I played the synthesizers and keyboards, and I sang. So I did both.
Right.
I was also what they call a MIDI programmer, which I could program music and sequences and samples. And the first job I ever had actually was with the group Chicago in 1987. And I did 2 tours with them off stage, like behind the drum riser. I had a keyboard set up and a computer, and I would augment their sound through samples and sequences and through extra strings and bells and whistles and occasional piano and organ part. But that was a great experience. That was my first real tour and world tour, and that was a huge band. And then I went on to work with Al Jarreau and Belinda Carlisle, Tracy Chapman, Christopher Cross, Michael McDonald, Boss Skaggs, and a whole host of artists and lots of television, but always as a keyboard player, singer, which was a cool role for me because it was cool for the band because they could get an extra singer, for the price of the keyboard player. And I also, make beautiful sounds and synthesized, really luxurious synth pads and things. And in the early 90s, especially, everybody was into those big David Foster sounds, and I was really good at layering and recreating album sounds for the tours. So it was amazing. I did 25 years.
Wow. And to have both of that, to be a singer and a keyboard player, gave you not double trouble, but yeah, I mean, they loved it.
No, it was a double threat, in a way, a triple threat with the programming ability, because it wasn't like I could just press a button. I actually knew how to program the sound, and if somebody wanted a little more of this or that in that sound, I could do it. Otherwise, you'd need a keyboard tech to come in and make the sound. But I never considered myself a singer. I know that sounds fun. I'm absolutely not crazy about my voice at all. I wanted to sound like, I wished I could have sounded like Ann Wilson from Heart. Now there's a singer, to me, she was the ultimate. Yeah. So it took me years to discover my voice and really become friends with it, because there's so many different colors. I didn't know how to use it properly. Well, I don't say that. I didn't quite know how to access all the colors. I would either sing one way or another way or try to imitate somebody. And it just was frustrating to me for years. I mean,
Right.
years.
Yeah.
So only in the last probably 6 years have I started to go, oh, wow, that's really pretty. Or now I know how to sing a certain way to bring out the quality.
Well,
I can hear it now.
I mean, that's the question. How did you access the colors? How did you find the colors within you?
Ironically, it was when I really started to study jazz as a vocalist. And that was about 6 years ago. Not my style is jazzy, so you might. I've been considered a jazz artist for decades, but I never really felt like one. It wasn't until I recorded Scarecrow Sessions, which was the record for my dad in my dad's honor with the songs from the shows that he was in back in the 30s and 40s, that I actually went into a studio with a bunch of jazz musicians in New York City. I went to New York, got a really good dear friend, David Mann, produced it. We had John Patitucci and Chuck Loeb, like amazing jazz players. And I just sang. I didn't even play. Because I'm not a jazz player. I play singer-songwritery, but I had real cats,
Yeah.
And that exploration of the freedom of just singing, that started to access the colors that I'd been unable to get to for so long. That and a study of improvisation, which I did. I had spent a year with an amazing improvisational singer. Since you're teaching, if anybody ever comes across the opportunity to study with a lady named Rhiannon, she is one of the most incredible improvisational teachers you'll ever find. It's not Rhiannon. And she's a woman who's been doing it for years. She's in her 70s, I think, and she does workshops all over the world. She's based in Hawaii. It opened up the door to my ability to create in the moment. And I'm not just talking about improvisation as it pertains to jazz. It's as it pertains to life.
Yeah.
It's like improv theater, but with voice. It's total improv theater. You are in the moment. You just start, and then another person, if you do it in a group, another person starts and they interact with you, and then the third person, and you get this extraordinary piece of music in the moment. It blew my mind. And so now everything, I'm so able to just go off into another world, and I'm not worried about looking silly, because I think a lot of people, when they start to improvise, they already start to get nervous, like, oh no, what syllables do I use and how do I do it? And I go, you don't even think about it, you just are. So anyway, that all started me in that process of finding my voice and becoming more comfortable with it.
I'm so glad that you brought up the in the moment and how it connects not just to you as an artist, but to you as a human being and in the life that we are in. Because that is so important. It's not quote acting, it's not just singing, it's living.
It's living. And that, as a coach and teacher, I'm sure that's what you coach. When they start getting sticky in the performance, you're like, no, that's not where you're going at. And she did the same thing. Rhiannon would say, you're performing. This isn't a performance. This is be in the moment. Don't go to your routine licks. Don't go into your bag of tricks.
Yeah.
This is the moment. And and she accesses the body too. She works with dance, incredible improvisational dancers, and it's an amazing experience for anybody who's in the arts, So anyway, I was very blessed to have that opportunity, and then to explore the show about my dad, which took me into a whole world of performing on stage as an actor, and studying some dance and studying his dance steps. And I'm just showing up, and the day sort of unfolds into whatever it is I'm supposed to do.
I know. But and as you're doing that, you're healing others. The other night, like I mentioned, I was online, and I did one of those watch parties, and I added like 20 people, and more people even showed up just because I posted it. And I got comments from friends who live like in Northern California, in like New York, and they're all like, oh my God, some have heard you before, some haven't. So it was like, what you're doing is amazing. And you're here to sing one or two songs today?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
I love it. Well, everyone, Kiki Ebsen. Here we go. Here we go.
All right, these are two of my songs. And this first one is called Love Wait for Me. Just a few steps to make along the way. That's where I am today. Love wait for me. 'Cause I need to know you won't let go. Love wait for me. Love wait for me. Garden prayed so long ago. Now it's hidden beneath this snow. And a new life just trying hard to grow. But the ice is melting slow. Love wait for me. 'Cause these beautiful flowers will soon be ours. Love wait for me. Love wait for me. Love grows so slowly. We might take all our lives to find my one and only. Love grows slowly. Love wait for me. 'Cause these storms they blind me, but the bad roads behind me. Love wait for me. Love wait for me. Love wait for me. Love wait for me.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Well, I resonate with them all, but that one really heals me when I sing it. It's like a dear friend. And I wrote that, I wrote that, and I don't know if you, what, in one of the shows I talked about, my husband and I are married for the second time.
Mm.
And that was a song I wrote when we were separating for the first time.
Ah.
So I had a lot of hope, but a lot of sadness in it too. And we both had to go on separate journeys for about 5 years. And then we came back and started dating again and remarried just about 3 years ago.
Ah.
So it's interesting, I definitely, I live my art,
Yeah, yeah. And to listen to that, I was just again entranced by you. And after hearing how you do come from the moment, I felt it. And that's, as an audience member, I feel that's what makes you so different than some people who just perform and sing, because you are so connected to what you do. It connects us and makes us feel it.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you. It's been great for me to do all these shows because I throw it all out there, and sometimes I mess it up and have to stop and start again, and it freaked me out at first, and then I went, you know what, this is life, and to be brave enough to just do it. I mean, we're all so hard on ourselves, and I'm
Yeah,
the first one. I mean, I am so hard on myself. I'm such a perfectionist. It kills me to make a mistake, especially if I'm playing for people.
yeah,
But it's so real and honest. And if you can't get over being afraid to make a mistake, you'll never be brave enough to be in the moment. You'll
right.
over rehearsed, and you'll never have that. And even that won't help you. I could play the same song 10 times, and the 11th time I could still make a mistake. So you kind of have to get over the perfectionistic part of performing in order, I think, to really shine out as a performer.
Yeah, we think, we hear that, oh, we have to be perfect, but truly being perfect is being imperfect.
Because we're not perfect.
Right.
And I have to say, my dad was brilliant at being imperfect. He would wing it all the time, and he'd get it right or not, and I always loved watching him just be himself, and the audience just adored him no matter what he did. I mean, they adored him. And so I have a really warm feeling about, my dad as a performer, and being able to watch him from the wings sometimes, and just go, wow,
Right.
he's an artist, man. He's good.
Well, to watch him on TV growing up, watching the Beverly Hillbillies, watching Barnaby Jones, I mean, he seemed like such an amazing man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was a stoic man. He was, Danish and German.
Right.
And they didn't talk about their feelings much, but I see what he was trying to do. Like, if I didn't get it when I was 17, I get it now. I got it. I got it down.
I love when we learn later, or sometimes we get messages later.
And I think there are messages there, and I encourage everybody to who lost their parents, or just are feeling that tremendous loss. I mean, you're going to see them all over your life if you just take a deep breath and exhale. They show up in incredible ways.
Mm.
You want to hear another?
Oh, do I? Of course. Oh my God. Here we go. I love it.
This is a relatively new song. It's coming out on a record I'm putting out this summer, and I like it because it's the peace out. It's the quiet after the storm. It's the peace we're looking for, and the harmony that we strive for. But even with harmony, there has to be discord so that we can have harmony. So it's all yin yang. It's called Peace Harmony.
Mm.
Heart is open, there's so much to feel. Never known a love so real. Storm and heavy, but it's gonna last. Washed away my wicked past. There's only peace, harmony. That's what Never known love so real. The storm it hit me, but it's gonna last. Washed away my wicked past. There's only peace, harmony. That's what I want. Give me peace, harmony. Ooh, peace, harmony. That's what I want. Give me peace, harmony. Ooh, oh, yeah. That's what I want. Give me peace, harmony. Ooh, peace, harmony. That's what I want. Give me peace, harmony. Yeah. Give me peace and harmony.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What, I mean, you know, when you go to a really good movie or a really good concert and you're sort of speechless afterwards because it's just like you're taking it in.
Aw.
I can imagine what each song inspires you. I could see you just breathe in and it just comes out. Is that how it works for you?
Yeah, yes, and especially if I allow it to. I mean, sometimes there are situations where you feel on the spot or you get nervous. Your nerves will take over. I mean, it happens. But I, I've really been able to handle a lot of that through breathing, and I do yoga. So yoga involves a lot of breathing techniques, and when you really, you know, control your breathing and breathe in and out and take in as much air, and you start to control the rhythm of your breathing, you won't be doing those shallow breaths, and you can control your heartbeat and your pulse rate when the nerves take over. And that's really gotten me out of a few jams where I felt, well, for whatever reason, in particular, I was doing a show at Catalina's. It was a cabaret version of my dad's show, To Dad with Love.
Yeah.
And Debbie Reynolds had just passed away, and she is a family friend. And it was just 2 days after Carrie Fisher had died. And so we were dedicating the show to her that night. And my brother, who does the show with me, the multimedia part, put a big frame up there. And I just felt like this show is going to be important to this audience because the show is about connecting with your parents after they passed away.
Right.
And since now Debbie was involved, I felt this big responsibility, to do a good performance. But that pressure it was undue pressure for me. So I just sat and I was just did this breathing thing for about 5 minutes and got really focused and really centered and went on stage and just went and did it, stayed in the moment.
Yeah.
It's nothing, if you get pulled off focus, that's where it all gets a little bit, hazy.
Right. And it's interesting how, you're talking about performing and also you're creating the creation of a song is the word that you used, which I love, is allow. You allow it to happen and the creativity to happen.
And that is that's something I do because I work with horses. I do natural horsemanship, and I teach it. And I have a little herd of rescued horses. That's like my daytime thing.
Oh, how wonderful!
And the allowing, putting the pressure on the horse and then allowing them to do the thing that you've asked them to do is what the goal is. It's not the pressure to do something. It's the pressure only motivates the action. The allow is what completes the action.
Yeah.
So I take it into my life, and obviously when you do the singing part, it's exactly so. The problem is it's a leap of faith. If you allow something to happen, I'm not controlling it. It can't go well, but it could. but you could fall off the wire too. So that's the chance you take every time you stay in the moment.
Yeah.
You may blank. It happens, but more often than not, you'll have brilliance. I think genius moments, more moments of genius than anything else.
Yeah. And I notice too, a lot of times when I have blanked in the middle of a scene or whatever or a song, it's because you're so in the moment that you're like,
Totally. So I'm the queen of making up lyrics. Oh my God. I'm always like, whoa, well, that was an interesting choice of words. But I'll just keep going unless it's a complete train wreck. And then I'll stop and say, okay, the song deserves a little more than that. But
I rewrote my own song there.
but it gives me great joy to watch the greats like Ella Fitzgerald make up lyrics on the spot, and Joni Mitchell. There was some TV show where she just stopped in the middle of her song, when I got to do that again, or she tried out a new song. So I just have a verse of this. Do you mind if I play it? National television? It's like, that's amazing. So do your thing. Just do your thing.
Do your thing. Well, Kiki, thank you so much for coming today and being a part of this.
Dear.
What's your website again, so people can go to your website?
Kiki Ebsen, KikiEbsen.com. It's KIKIE, B as in boy, SEN.com. And there you can access everything. My music, I have records, I have the live streams I'm doing now, live shows, hopefully starting in May, at the end of May. I start my shows in Southern California. I do Joni Mitchell. I do my own show. Yeah, please come and connect with me. Join my email site. Come watch us on Facebook too every night.
Every night.
Over.
Well, I look forward to that, as well as seeing you live again in person.
Thanks, David.
Stay well and safe, and sending love to your family.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.